Hello guys and welcome to another episode of MTG Steam Brewery. Today I'm bringing you a deck I designed, but it's not really a new concept. It's Unexpected Bant. It's basically a Prime Speaker Bant with 4 unexpected results. The basis of the deck's kind of been around for like a year back when Thragtusk was in Standard. So it's not really a new deck. It's just a new version of the deck. So just wanted to explain that before we went into the deck. And we're going to get started. We have some Planeswalkers. We have one Elspeth, just a really solid card. It does a lot of things, and it's gonna win most games where it goes unanswered. Whereas some of your cards can't win a game. Like if they have enough blockers, this Elspeth will do that because she'll like jump all of your guys, and make an army of her own. So that's really good. We have 2 Jace because he's really versatile. He's going to give us the +1. We really need a little more help against aggro. Even though we're kind of a mid-range deck, we're kind of just trying to ramp in the first few turns and hit our land drops. So we're not really doing too much in the first turns if we don't draw a 4-drop. And so he just helps with the aggro matchup. He's also really good in the other matchups where he'll just generate the card advantage and like fog you a turn because they'll try to kill him. With 2 Summon Primordial, kind of our own way outside of Detention Sphere to blow up other Planeswalkers. It blows up Detention Spheres, and it blocks pretty much everything in the format and lives. So if you're in a defensive situation, it's gonna just sit there and kind of stop your opponent from for a couple turns. So that's why he's there. We have 2 Angel of Serenity. This card is grossly underplayed in Standard right now, in my personal opinion. Saw a ton of play back when Umbrella Rights and Thragtusk were in the format, and it's lost sway since then, but this card can take over pretty much any game, and if you draw 2 of them, if your opponent can't like Detention Sphere them, they're pretty much going to lose, because when one dies, you'll get your creatures back, and you just Angel Serenity, put your Angel under it, and exile or whatever else you wanted. So like against control decks, you're just going to get 1 Angel and 2 other threats back every time, and they can't beat that without a Detention Sphere, and that only answers 1, and you still get those other 3 back. So that card's just really good, and that's what we're playing. We're playing 1 Armada Worm. He's getting 2 5/5s. Just like that's never bad in any situation, because when you want to be offensive, he's going to put 10 trample power on the board. When you want to be defensive, he's going to put 10 power in 2 blockers on the board. So he's just a solid 6-drop. And we're playing him with our other 6-drop is 3 Prime Speaker Zagana, the name card of the deck, one of the 2 name cards of the deck. It's really in here to make a fatty and generate a lot of card advantage. So like you say, turn 4, Advent or Polykranos, and you had a Mandork on turn 2. You untap, you go Prime Speaker, draw 6 cards. Like that'll win a lot of the mid-range games. And if you manage to get that as a 6/6 against aggro, you're probably going to win the game because you just drew 6 cards. And control, it's just going to hopefully refuel your hand every time you play it. So she's just a really solid creature overall. So we have her in there. We have 1 Polykranos because he's just a really solid 4-drop. He doesn't really need much explaining. So that's why she's a lot of play, especially in decks with Nykthos like ours. So that's why he's there. We have 2 Master Biomancers because it makes all of our like Mandork's threats and of all of our threats bigger threats. So that's why he's in here. With Zagana, you get to draw even more cards, which is always really silly. And if you draw 2 Biomancers, you're probably winning the game if they don't have like Supreme Verdict. So that's why he's in here. We have 3 Voyaging Satyr, 4 Sylvan Carotid, just kind of as our ramp package. Not much need to explain those. We have 4 Detention Sphere, kind of a catch-all answer, just answers everything. We have 4 Unexpected Results because I really like the card. I always like to just like, sometimes you'll win because you'll like turn 2 Mandork, turn 3 flip an Elspeth. Sometimes you flip Sphinx to Revelation, and that always sucks, but it's just a fun card. And that's the main reason I wanted to play this deck, was so I could play Unexpected Results and Prime Speaker in the same deck. So that's why we have that. And we have 2 Supreme Verdicts in the main deck because we wanted an answer to things. So that's why that's in here. Like just having the panic button, really good against aggro, and in mid-range where you're kind of just throwing up your creatures, or you have an Angel Serenity in your hand, you can Supreme Verdict, and then like it'll reset, and you'll be able to stabilize where they can't. And then we have 2 Sphinx Revelation as like more card draw, and against aggro, the life gain's really relevant. And in this deck, we'll normally get a bunch of mana or just hit a bunch of land drops. So just really solid card in the Bant control decks, and it's really good in ours because we're just normally going to draw a handful of gas off of it. So it's that's why it's in here. It's really solid. We have 2 Advent of the Worm instead of 2 Polychronos just for the control decks, because it's a end of turn 5/5 with trample. And then against aggro, it's still just 5/5, so it doesn't really matter. It's just going to block things. That's why that's there. And we have our mana base. We have 2 Nykthos because we're playing a lot of permanents. We can get a bunch of mana out of it, especially with Voyaging Satyrs, has been popular in the red-green decks. We have 4 Hallowed Fountains. We have 4 Breeding Pool and 3 Temple of Mystery, 4 Temple Garden.
They got to see this.
2 Plains, 2 Island, and 3 Forest. And then we have our sideboard. We have another Elspeth for the control matchup. We have 2 Mosquito Hydras pretty much just for the mono-blue matchup. And against the blue-white control decks, though, those are just blue-white, not Esper, is kind of fallen out of favor, so that's why that's in there. And then we have 1 Madami, the Ageless. That's solely for the control matchups, like taking extra turns is always going to be good, especially when we're just going to hit them, play another threat, untap, attack with the threat we just played, and pass the turn. So it allows us to apply the same amount of pressure without overextending. And then we have 1 Parnastic Sphinx in the sideboard. That's just for the Jund and the control matchups, because it's going to normally there's control. You don't really want it against too many decks because it's not going to do too much, but against control decks, you have a hexproof guy that can attack and scry 3, so you'll be something like your lands you no longer need at the bottom, and you'll be just drawing all the gas you need. So that's why that's in there. We have 1 Prophet for the aggro matchups and the mid-range decks that can't answer it. So Jund, you don't really want to bring it in against Jund, but every other non-control, non-Jund deck, it's pretty good because it's going to allow you to untap and play more blockers or cast more spells. Then we have 1 Daxos, kind of for the control and the fatties decks that are running around. They won't have too many things that can block him. So he'll generate card advantage that way, and sometimes a life gain may be relevant, but normally taking your opponent's fatty is going to be good enough. And we have 1 Heliod for the control matchup because giving any of our guys vigilance so they can block giving a Sylvan Primordial vigilance so it can block a Blood Baron is always really good. It can generate an army, especially if we have a Nykthos out. He'll be able to generate an army of his own if we can't apply any other pressure. So they will need to answer him. Otherwise, we're going to just kind of take over the game. And we have 1 Primeval Bounty for the control matchup. Giving all of our things an extra spell added to them is always really good. So just being able to out card advantage a control player by playing an enchantment is always really good. And we have 2 Unflinching Courage for the aggro matchup. That's been around in the green-white decks as the aggro trump for a while. So there's no need to explain that. We have 1 more Supreme Verdict for the aggro matchups, and the decks that will play creatures that we can't beat. This is odd, but Stormbreath Dragon, if we don't have a Sylvan Primordial, there's no way we're gonna beat that card. So we kind of need Supreme Verdict. So that's why there's another one in there. And then we have 1 Psychic Spiral solely for the control matchups, because the games can go really long when they're just answering your threats and you're answering their planeswalkers. The game's just going to go long, especially with Sphinx's Revelations and Prime Speakers of our own, and they're going to Sphinx Revelationing. You're both going to run pretty low on cards eventually. So that's why that's in there, just for the control matchup. But we also have a Plasm Capture for the control matchup, just to have a cancel. And countering our opponent's Sphinx's Revelation and untapping, maybe play our own Sphinx's Revelation or playing our own things, is just going to be really good off of a Plasm Capture. So that's why that's in here. And that's our Unexpected Bant deck. We didn't do a deck tech over the Jund deck, so if you want to see that deck, you're going to have to go watch the Versus video. And I hope you enjoy this and have a good day.